Hello, everybody, and welcome to another meeting for Akin Developers. We're so glad you guys all took the time to join us. We have a special guest today, John Paul. He's one of our own fortune builders. He's also a trainer, a coach. He's an investor. He invests in different facets of the business. So we're so happy and so honored to have him join us. And he's a very nice guy to talk to every time we go to events. I know he's very, very accessible. Some of you might have been able to talk to him. And we had asked him to share with us some of the strategy he does. He's in a different markets, and he's going to talk to you a little bit, talk to us a little bit about where he is and what he does, and how he pretty much invests in any type of market, whether it's local or in his state or outside of his state. So we thought it would be great for you guys to kind of understand that as we're going into these pandemic, and we're starting to see more inventory coming, and by the end of the year, early next year, there'll be even more inventory coming on the online. So we want to make sure you guys are all set up. So John Paul, please take it away.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. I am truly honored that you would invite me into your group. I know you guys have spent a lot of time and effort in making sure that you have a good group, and clearly they really respect you guys because you guys have a really good showing. You got 22 people on this call, so thank you for the opportunity, and hello to everybody. I see a lot of familiar names on the call. I think I've coached a couple of you guys, and if I haven't coached you, I've seen you at boot camp. So I'm excited because I really, as a coach, I didn't really get an opportunity to be able to do stuff like this, right? Because, as coaches, we present for fortune builders, during, the webinars that they do. And so now that I've taken a break from coaching, has allowed me to be able to do stuff like this and attend all these little local meetups and, just kind of share offline, what I do as an investor. And I say that, I think you had mentioned before everybody showed up that most people here are probably fortune builders, right? I mean, you said maybe one or two people aren't. So the one thing that I see a lot of is, there's a lot of coaches that, they may depart fortune builders because for one reason or another. And, I don't know. And maybe I've drinking the Kool-Aid from day one, and I'm still bought in 100%. And so what you'll notice is a lot of the things that I do are based off of fortune builders. And even though that I'm not a coach right now, I'm still going to come out and you're going to hear me talk a lot about and refer you guys back to a lot of what's in the curriculum and what you guys have at your fingertips on the computer, because it truly is about learning the systems and just implementing them, regardless of how uncomfortable it feels or how much time you don't think that you have. It's about implementation. And so that's kind of what I want to talk about on this call. Is I want to talk about how, well, first let's recognize the market that you guys are in DC. It's not, the cheapest market, and it's not the easiest market to get a deal in. I mean, I'm sure there's probably people on this call who have submitted multiple offers and are probably still struggling to find their first deal, or maybe they have one and they're struggling to find their second. And I'm sure there's probably people on the other side that, you guys have figured out that a lot of what it takes to get a deal is just consistency and volume and a lot of offers and a lot of networking and a lot of just a lot of effort just to get that one deal. And so, yeah, Christopher. Oh yeah, see, look, I used to coach you. I don't even see you on the screen. I just saw your name pop up. Oh, you're the robot guy or whatever that is. What is that? It's like
it's actually cards.
Yeah. All right. So what I can relate, and your market is a lot like the market that we're in. When I started Fortune Builders, I was down in Cape May, New Jersey. Have you guys heard of Cape May, New Jersey? Yeah, I got a thumbs up, some no's. All right, so Cape May, New Jersey, it's a little different than yours as far as the, what it's about, but the price points are very similar. Cape May is a second time home buyer or a home market, right? So it's a lot of vacation homes for people that come from Philly and parts of, from parts of New York and New Jersey and Delaware. A lot of these people come over to the Jersey Shore and they buy their second home. And that was the market that I started in. And I remember my first probably 2 months being on my coach calls, and I'm like rattling off the type of deals that I'm looking at. And my coach didn't even know how to deal with it. He was kind of like, yeah, is there anything like for like normal homeowners? Like, do you have to deal in these like $1 million homes? And so what ended up happening is he made a recommendation, and he basically said, hey, listen, you might have to travel. That market is going to be very tough for you to break into, especially at that price point. And if you're looking to get a deal quicker, you might have to travel. You might have to invest outside of your backyard. And I was open to it because about an hour up the road was Atlantic City. And right outside of Atlantic City, there was a huge, just, I guess, suburban type area, right? Like where there was like normal people. I call it civilization. There was like civilization, there was McDonald's, there was like all like the normal stuff that is probably in and around all of our neighborhoods. And I went up there and I found a real estate agent. And, from there, it was, there's an entire story that goes behind that. But, the point that I want to make is that, sometimes that our own market may not be the best. And I'm not saying this is for everybody. I'm just saying the point of why I want to come on here today is I just want to show you that it really only takes one or two people to really change the landscape of your business, and that you guys can invest in any market that you want, especially given the systems that you guys have. And so what I wanted to do, let's see, I had I wrote something down. I follow this guy. You guys, if you guys want to write this down, his name is Neil Bawa, Neal Bawa, Bawa. Neil is, he does a lot of multifamily. I think he's got like something called the Multifamily University. So a lot of what he does is based around multifamily, but it's based off of, they do a lot of market indicators. So they're looking at individual markets across the country, and they use a very basic criteria to determine what makes a good market. And so there's 5 things that they start off with. And if you guys want to write these down, this is something, and what I can do actually is, for you guys, I can probably put together like a little resource that I can share with you. And then maybe you can send it out to the group through your Google group or something like that. But there's 5 main things that they look at. And one is population growth, and they do it over a 20-year span. So you want to look for trending population growth, places where people are flooding to and not leaving. And I'll just give you one example, and it's Detroit. How many people have heard that Detroit is a great place to invest because of the price? There's a lot, yeah. So they've been talking about Detroit for the last 5 years, but did you know that Detroit's population has been declining for the last 6 years? They have more houses than they do people. So that's a terrible market to be in if you're looking to sell a property. They have more houses than people. So population growth is one of the things that they look at. The median household income growth. So is the area, along with growing in population, is it also growing in household income growth to keep up with inflation? And then on top of that, so not only is the growth of the income supposed to be growing, but the growth of the value of the houses in the area should be growing. And I'll give you an example. Atlantic City, where I started in 2016, a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house was about $135,000 after we renovated it. Now we can sell the same 3-bedroom, 1-bath house, 966 square feet, built in 1962, no basement, no garage, no nothing. We can sell that for $172,000. So that's a $30,000 growth on that particular property over 4 years. So, and that's just like literally very micro. That's micro, but you take that and you apply it over an entire market, and you can tell which markets are growing. And then the last 2 is crime level. They take crime level over about a 10-year span, and they want to see the crime level going down. And they have a level, their secret number that they use whenever when they're looking into markets is 500. They want to see a crime level below 500 whenever they're identifying their markets. And again, not just like it was 800 this year and then 500 the next. Literally like going down and down, because it's showing progression. And it's normally relative to the household income and the household value. And then the last one is job growth. Obviously, that's very important. If you look at some of the hottest markets that people are talking about in 2020, it's a lot of these Midwest states that have they're very cheap to be able to start building, like Apple. Like it's a lot of these little Midwest cities are becoming these micro technology centers. Apple, Amazon, Google. I think Idaho is one of them, where they're really putting a lot of different technology centers. So you'll see like Boise's on the list. A lot of Utah is on the list as great places. Actually, Utah is like 3 of the top 10 are in Utah, the markets to invest in. And so those 5 things: population growth, household income growth and value growth, the crime level, and the job growth. Those are really the 5 basic things that you guys can look at. And there's websites that you can go to, and that's what I'll share with you, because I don't expect you guys to write all that down, but I'll share with you the websites that you guys can go to and plug all of these things in and see which markets would make sense. So I'm just curious, can people unmute themselves, or I can't see the questions because
we can unmute.
Okay.
Yes, we can unmute ourselves, but usually we would if you want to stop for question, it's fine. Or if you want to just talk and then we ask you the questions after, you tell us.
Well, I would love to hear, I gave away like a couple of the markets that are kind of trending right now that are great markets to get into. And I was just wondering if anybody had any ideas of what are some of the other markets that might qualify based off of those 5 things. Off the top of your head, like, what do you think were some of the markets that might be hot?
I know Jacksonville was a strong market as well, Jacksonville, Florida. So I was looking into
Jacksonville's a good one. Yep.
Yeah, Baltimore. I'm at Baltimore a lot.
I was looking at parts of Texas also. Parts of Texas.
Oh, it's Marucho.
Say
All
St.
right,
Louis.
so Texas, St. Louis. All right.
Louisville, Kentucky.
Louisville, Kentucky. So these are all those are all great cities. I would imagine that most of those cities would be in the top probably 20 or 30. But most of the cities that we're going to be looking at, and you guys can probably catch this on the news anywhere, are literally the cities that Apple, Google, Amazon, and all those big tech companies are looking to create jobs. And then any other type of area where there is a large influx of population, no matter what, like Florida. Florida is one of those states. Florida and Texas and Tennessee are the states where a lot of people, when they retire, they go to those states because there are no taxes or the cost of living is low. There's actually a really, really hidden sweet spot in Florida, and it's right between Tampa and Orlando. Because they've grown out so much. There's this place called Lakeland that is like a perfect place to invest, and that's in the top 10 for sure. So places like that are places that you all can invest in. All you have to do is identify a market, and you can invest in it. And you can do that by building a team. So that's where I want to transition to right now. Is I want to talk about building a team. And I talk about this from experience, and I shared this before, or I was kind of getting into it before a lot of people got on the call, is, we were experiencing a lot of competition in South Jersey. And so what we did is we were looking at another market that was close by that we can get into. And so we moved up into Central Jersey, where, we saw that there was just a lot more population of houses, a lot more populations of people. There was a lot more people leaving New York City, coming to New Jersey because it's more affordable to get out of all the hustle and bustle. So we just really liked that market. And so one of the first things that we did was actually, let me ask you guys, and you guys can put it in the chat box if you want. What is, oh, who wrote that? Oh, you're taking notes and you're putting it in the chat box. Very nice. So what is, for you guys, who do you think, if you're looking to get into a new market, what would be the most important person to add to your team when getting into a new market?
A VA?
Real estate agent.
A virtual assistant, a real estate agent.
Who knows the market?
I thought it was
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that's exactly right. A real estate agent is probably the most important person to add to your team. And here's why. They know the market. Not only do they know the market, but if you can link up with the right one, they have all the contacts. I mean, they are the connector, the hub of real estate transactions and the community in that market. So most of them deal with contractors. Most of them deal with appraisers and lawyers and title companies. I mean, they deal with everything. So finding the right agent is probably the most important thing that you guys can do after you have identified a market that you want to be in. So what types of things, actually, before I ask a question, so what I wanted to say is the best way to find a real estate agent in a market is by asking for referrals first. Referrals are the best way to get anybody on your team. There's no reason for you to go out and start scouring and looking for people and interviewing a bunch of people when the first thing you should probably do is ask for referrals. And in this day and age, you know how easy it is to ask for a referral? This is what I did. I'm in South Jersey. I went on Facebook. I typed in Central Jersey Real Estate Investors. I found a group called Central Jersey Real Estate Investors. I asked to join. As soon as I got into the group, the very first thing I asked was, does anybody have a real estate agent that really truly understands investors and is looking for more clients? And so I'm in a group of investors that, hopefully, I find some other people who are open-minded and like to share like I do. And like all of us do here on this call, we're very open-minded and collaborative. Not everybody's like that, but hopefully you can find somebody that'd be like, yes, I have somebody that you should talk to. And that's exactly what we did up in Central Jersey. We went on Facebook, we made a very simple post asking for a realtor referral or asking for a realtor recommendation. And what we found out, this is a lesson learned, what we found out is it's good to get individual realtor referrals, but it's better to talk to the broker. So if you can find a broker and you can tell them what you're looking for, the broker actually has a really good idea and the ability to interview multiple people within their brokerage to find out who would make a good fit for you. So the conversation would go something like this. And by the way, and I feel terrible by saying this if you guys aren't Keller Williams agents. I only mess with Keller Williams agents. I'm sorry. I'm Keller Williams through and through when it comes to agents. I know you guys can hate me, throw something at the screen. That's fine. But I love messing with Keller Williams agents because they understand systems. I mean, they're literally like the fortune builders of real estate agents from my personal experience. Right. So they understand systems, they understand business, they understand investing, all that stuff. So what I did is I found the realtor or the broker of the Keller Williams in the area that I was looking to invest. And I told that person, I said, hey, we're looking to come into the area. We have a goal of doing about 10 to 15 houses this year. We understand that this requires about 10 to 15 offers per week, which means we have to walk a lot of properties, make a lot of offers. So do you have somebody inside your brokerage that understands business? Because this is it's not a hobby, it's a business. And a lot of the decisions, the conversations and the numbers that we do are based off of business practices. So that understands business and investing, because that's what I need. I need somebody who understands both aspects of it. And for me, I always ask for somebody who has a team, because we've learned this through trial and error as well, is when we've tried to implement the MLS offering system, which is what I'm going to share with you guys next. When we tried to implement the MLS offering system, submitting 10 offers per week, individual agents got burned out. They just couldn't keep up. And so what they need is they need a team on the back end that can help them process all of those offers, that can submit them, follow up with them, counter, be communicative to the agents that we're trying to make offers to and with us at the same time, and then still allow the agent who is basically like the team leader, whoever it is that's going to help you, get to know the market, allow them to just do the high level part of what they do. So now when we go into a new market, we talk to the broker and we ask for a team, someone who has a team lead and has a team that can help support putting in that many offers. So between all of that, I mean, that's really, if you can nail that down, if you can find a broker that can present you that, and they're probably going to say, hey, here's 2 or 3 different teams that you can interview. And so you're going to have the opportunity to filter out and figure out who it is that you click with, like who do you resonate with, who is going to be able to help you get to the area that you want to get at. And a lot of you may be thinking that you wouldn't even know what to ask or what to say or how to say it or feel confident or whatever that is. And I would recommend, this is one of the things that we did at the beginning that really helped us, give us a lot of confidence, is that agent credibility packet that you have is an amazing tool. Amazing tool. I think it's very, very underutilized in the Fortune Builders community. So if you haven't read that thing from front to back at least 3 times, you need to add that to your action items coming out of this call, is read. And it doesn't matter if we're talking about contractors, lenders, agents, read those credibility packets, start thinking like them, talking like them, and acting like what's in that credibility packet, because that's where you guys probably want to take your business. I don't think that, most people, when they join and they read that credibility packet and they're like, holy shit, this is a lot. This isn't my company. I'm not here yet, but it's probably where everybody wants to be. And so if you can read it, if you can think it, if you can talk it, people start to believe it. And then it allows you to have a better conversation whenever you're vetting these different realtor teams that you can add. So that's the first part. That's the agent part. There's a lot of tools that we use to help control or facilitate, not control, help facilitate that relationship. Everybody has access to the offer property or the property offer spreadsheet. That's something that we give the agents and we say, hey, this is your communication piece to us. This is where we're going to track all of our offers. And you don't even, they don't need to call us to tell us anything. They just put it in the spreadsheet and then we just look in the spreadsheet together, and that's where we do all our communication. On top of that, something I can share with you guys is something that we created. This is kind of a homegrown thing. It's called a rent and sales matrix. Every 3 months, we sit down with our agents on the phone, 30-minute conversation, and we basically go over all of the different townships or cities or whatever you guys call them in your area. We go over each one of them and we say, all right, what was one of the neighborhoods you guys said? Somebody just said it, I can't remember.
Baltimore?
I want to say one of your area. Well, that's kind of big. Give me a smaller one.
Okay. Haven?
Springfield, Virginia.
Lakeland?
Springfield. All right. So, Lakeland. All right. So that's perfect. So I'll say, all right, Mr. Realtor, Springfield, let's say 2-1, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, on knowing our product, which is a fully rehab, top of the line, 2-bedroom, 1-bath. What's the low that you're seeing in the market right now? What's the high? And I normally try to keep them within a $10,000 to $15,000 low and high. And what that does is, and we'll go through 2-1, 2-2, 3-1, 3-2, 4-2, and we get a whole spreadsheet that literally looks like a matrix of highs and lows of every type of property in every city. And we can normally accomplish this in about 30 minutes. And what that allows us to do is, as we're as we're identifying different markets and we're looking to, we'll get, if we're searching Zillow or whatever, we don't always have to be pinging the realtor and say, hey, what do you think the ARV is here? What's the CMA for this over here? You literally spend 30 minutes to save the realtor 4 hours of like digging stuff up and constantly having to respond to you. And so that's been a huge piece that these realtors absolutely love. And it shows them that it's a business and that we're serious about it. And so, we really love giving realtors tools that make their job easier. Gosh, you guys got more and more people are jumping on. There's 30 people on this thing. You guys got a heck of a group. All right, so
now we have a very good speaker today, so we're attracting a whole bunch of people.
Oh,
you got to
is
come
that
back
it?
again. You got to promise you're going to come back again.
Yeah, well, I got to make sure that I don't go too much in detail. I sometimes I get caught up in just like over explaining things. So I'd like to actually stop and see if anybody has a question, if that's okay.
Does anybody have any questions, or should we continue?
I really like that matrix idea. That's cool. How often do you update that, you said?
Every 3 months we sit down. So we put, we're a firm believer of our Google Calendar, and we're very intentional with a lot of our conversations. And we basically tell them like, hey, every 3 months, let's go ahead and set up on the calendar 30 minutes. We're going to update this thing every 3 months. And so, we typically do it on the first Monday of every quarter. So the first Monday of the quarter, we'll meet for 30 minutes and we'll talk about it.
So John Paul, just to recap, the agent and the team will be making the offer, submitting offer for you,
Yes.
and the counter offer and everything as a system itself.
Yes, and I'm going to actually get to that next.
Okay.
Hey, John Paul, this is Jordan. On the rental matrix, when you was talking about the highs and lows, are you talking about the monthly rent, or are you talking about the property value itself? Like, for example,
Both. I have a tab for sales and I have a tab for rents, because sometimes we have multiple exit strategies. Sometimes it might make sense as a rental, but it doesn't make, and sometimes it might make sense to flip it. And so if I can have the ability to click on this spreadsheet and figure that out in 2 seconds, that's what I'm looking for. Great question. All right, awesome. So now that you've identified the agent, now it's time to actually get them to work for you. Because remember, the idea of this is we're looking at different markets that, let's just say Lakeland, Florida, right? We're looking to implement this in Lakeland, Florida. So we found our agent team. We've had an amazing interview. Now it's time to actually get them out there to make offers. So now what you need is you need boots on the ground, right? You need somebody to be able to walk and evaluate these properties. And so let's just imagine we're in February having this conversation, and each one of us could literally get on a plane and go to Florida and meet an agent, right? So the idea is you identify a market and you can go to this market. And by the way, actually, I should just make a caveat. Since we are in COVID and it may not be that easy to get on a plane, if you're looking to implement this right away, you have an entire Fortune Builders network. There's 30,000 Fortune Builders across the nation that you can leverage in each one of these markets. And so I wouldn't sleep on that piece that you guys have right there. You can literally go onto Facebook and say, hey, is there any investors in Tampa, Orlando, or whatever that are struggling to get a deal? We would love to implement a system with you, so that way you can learn how to do it on basically our coattails, right? So this is, so you can always leverage people in all these different markets. And so, so now it's time to actually train the agent on the MLS offering system. And this is really where we've seen, this is like this thing right here. This is pretty sweet what we were able to do. So how many people actually went through, I don't know if they've done this recently, but how many people actually went through I think they call it a full immersion. It was a full immersion where you actually got to walk some properties, or the rehab boot camp, where you identify a couple properties and you walk through with your repair estimator, and then you come back and you debrief it either on the bus or wherever. So we run the same exact thing with our agents. We put our agents through a mini full immersion. And so what we'll do is We identify the types of houses that we're going to target in that market. And then we basically say, hey, we're going to be coming up this weekend. Can you identify 5 to 6 properties that we can walk this weekend so we can teach you how to evaluate properties, evaluate repairs, and be able to submit offers. And so what they'll do is they'll line up 6 properties, 5 or 6 properties, and we go with about 20 repair estimators, and we give them 10, we take 10. And so what we'll do is the first 2 properties, we'll have them just shadow us. So we'll walk through the properties and we'll literally be talking about all the things that we're learning about as Fortune Builder students, which is like, hey, listen, we're always going to replace this. We're going to always touch this. We rehab with integrity, so we're not going to hide this. If it's here, we might as well just take it out. So we're setting the groundwork for them to think like we think and act like we act on our behalf. And so it's important, as we're going through, they're watching over your shoulder and they're watching as you're like, okay, it's pretty simple. Does it need flooring? Yes. Check. It needs flooring. Move on. Right? Yeah, you might have to do a little measurement, but it really doesn't take that much. So what I'm trying to show them is how detailed the repair estimator can be, but how simple it is to really just go through and put checks by a couple of things and some numbers. Does it need windows? Yep. All new windows. Check. There's 10 windows, right? It's really that simple because all of everything else is already in there. So we're teaching them the detailed and the simplicity behind the repair estimator. So we do that for 2 properties. And then after the next 2 properties, we give them the repair estimators and we say, okay, your turn. You walk these 2 properties and then we'll be over your shoulder. You can ask us questions if you want, but we want you to do it yourself. And so what we'll do is we'll let them come up with a number, and then, we're kind of doing it on the back end as well. And then we'll debrief, and then, we'll talk about any lessons that were learned. And then on the last 2 or the last one, we kind of do, it's us versus them. We'll start on the outside, they'll start on the inside, and then we'll just keep walking the property and we'll come together and we'll see how far off we were. We've done this 3 times with 3 different sets of realtors. By the 5th house, our numbers have always been within $1,000 or $2,000 on repairs. And so being able to do that many properties in one day, watching us, they do it, and then we do it together. I mean, it's kind of like teaching 101, right? Like, I think that's how teachers do it. That really gives them a sense of like, it's like an aha moment for them. It makes them feel proud about themselves, because a lot of agents, like, they love the idea of investing, but they don't know how to do it. They don't know where to start. And like giving them that tool, and they're just like, wow, I can freaking do this now. I can evaluate a house. They feel like they're on HGTV already. I mean, like the agents like are lit up by the end of the day, and they're just excited with all the information that they just learned. And so that's really the first step, is getting them to understand the repair estimator. Questions?
So you're actually having the agents do the walkthroughs for you?
Yes, I sure am.
Do you ever wholesale any of the properties that you put under contract through an agent?
Yeah, we've done it before.
And they don't take offense to it?
No, because we're typically doing a lot of volume, so they know that they're going to catch it on the next one. And really a lot of what I do is because I'm aligning with really good agents, when I'm wholesaling the property, I always make it a point to try to say that, hey, this wholesale comes with this realtor listing it on the back end, not because it has to, but because you want it to, because this realtor can sell this property better than anybody else. And so I really try to edify the realtor in the wholesale deal. And most of the times it's worked. Most of the times the people who I've wholesaled it to have used that agent to sell it on the back end, which is what the agent really wants anyway, right? They want the out sales to get that fat commission. So that's a great question. It's a very hard thing to navigate if you don't have confidence in it. And so just know that you're going to have volume. And then whenever you're trying to wholesale something, that, try to edify that agent so that way they can get that sale.
John, do you also use a property manager or project manager?
Yeah, I'll get to that next.
Okay.
That's a great question.
That was going to be similar to probably my question. You're probably going to get to this, but how do you make adjustments, or where do you get the distinctions from that new market, as far as the repair list and whether or not there needs to be adjustments for the cost of rehabbing and things like that?
Yeah, actually, I'll answer that right now. And you guys might either not believe me or not want to believe me or just tell me I'm wrong. But so first of all, when we're looking for contractors, the first person we ask is our rockstar realtor. We say, hey, do you have any contractors that you know that are going to be a good fit for us? Because the agent has a vested interest in that project, because they're going to have to sell it on the back end. They're not going to recommend a shitty contractor to us, because then they're going to have to represent that project on the back end. And then they're going to have to be the one that has to deal with, oh, this project's taking 8 months. So it's in their best interest to help you find the best contract. And most rockstar realtors have contractors that they know that can perform. So I always start asking the agent first. And then if that doesn't work, then I go right back into the group and I say, hey, does anybody have any investor-friendly contractors that have a good track record with? And then what I do is, and this is where you guys are probably going to be like, no, you can't do that, is I take the repair estimator and I say, Mr. Contractor, I said, here is our repair estimator. This is what we're going to be walking our properties with. These numbers on here are national averages. I would imagine that you can probably do better than a lot of the numbers on here. And maybe some of them are even a little lower than what you would normally charge. What I'm asking is that you give me your best numbers, so that way we can be as competitive as we possibly can with every offer that we put in. And the best part about it is, if we can win a property using your numbers, guess who's going to get the job? You. And you didn't even have to walk the property, because we're using your numbers. And so every time I've done that, I've had contractors take my repair estimator and they line item, or they line out any number that's not right. And then they put their number in and they send it back to me. And now I've got their numbers. So at first I was like, no, I don't want to give them my repair estimator. I don't want to give them this tool. I don't want to give them access to this. But I mean, they're contractors. They probably have something similar, or they work off something completely different. It doesn't matter. I've never had a contractor say, oh, this is an amazing piece of, this is an amazing tool. Can I have this? They've all just given it right back to me. So I would recommend, even in your local market, if you guys are finding contractors that you're looking to use, give them your repair estimator and ask them for their best pricing. That was a great question. Awesome question, actually. Because that'll change your business.
I believe Marshall had a question.
I did, actually, a two-part question. John, when you are leveraging the realtors, are you having them represent you on those MLS deals and when you're buying it? And also, are you providing the opportunity? I think you already said that, when you resell that property.
Yes and no. So in my local market, I don't always let the people who represent me on the front side sell my property on the back side, because they're just not the best agent to do it. I mean, I've got an amazing sales agent that his buyer's list is ridiculous and his marketing is ridiculous. And so the answer is yes and no. I would say in a remote market, I haven't tried to pull that off yet. So I am allowing those agents to represent me on both sides of it.
Okay. And are you providing them the deal analyzer, not just the repair?
That's a great question. I'm gonna get to that next.
Okay, perfect.
So JP, I have a quick question. For this Rockstar sales agent you're using, do you have a system in place to find that person?
System, no. Tips and tricks, yes.
Okay.
That could probably be something. I don't want to get too off topic, and we could probably talk about that if there's time at the end. We could talk about it, or I can put it in the group or whatever, something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Is that cool?
Yes, thank you.
All right, yeah. All right, cool. So, Avia brought up a great point, or no, somebody said the deal analyzer. I can't remember who it was. Sorry.
That's Marshall.
Yeah, Marshall. All right. So That's the next piece, right? This is kind of the progression and how we figured this out in remote market is we gave them our repair estimator and we basically said, okay, now you guys know how to walk properties and evaluate deals. And I asked them, you know, like, what is your goal? How many transactions do you guys want to do this year? And a lot of them are, you know, they're like, oh, we want to do 80 to 100. Awesome. I want to do about 20. So I think that we both know, and this is important because this is kind of aligning your guys' goals and the amount of effort that it's going to take is you want to try to align and say, hey, I think we both know that takes a lot of effort and a lot of offers. And so would you think that it would be fair to say that if we submit about 5 to 10 offers a week, you know, that's about 20 to 40 offers a month, that we would be able to get 1 or 2 deals under contract? And, you know, most of the time when you phrase it like that, they say like, yeah, you know, anywhere from 20 to 40 offers, you probably get at least 1 under contract. All right, awesome. So that'd be 12 this year. Would that change your business? Absolutely, it'd change your business. Awesome. So then let's shoot for that. You know, what I'd like to shoot for is for you to identify 5 to 10 properties a week where you're walking the property with our repair estimator. And then what we're going to do, and this is important, is we're going to set up a cadence where we're meeting once per week. So we meet all of our realtors in all of our markets on Monday, and we do a 1-hour Google or Zoom call where we are both on screen. They're sharing their screen and they're going through the properties that they walked that week before with the repair estimators and the deal analyzer, which we'll get to in a second. And they're telling me what we're offering, and I'm basically just asking questions, trying to punch holes in their evaluation, like, oh, okay, so what about this or what about that? Did you cover this? Right? So their goal is to walk 5 to 10 properties that week with the repair estimator. So we did that, and for about 2 months, almost 2 months, it was like 7 weeks. We were getting beat out, and you guys were talking about this at the beginning of the call. We were getting beat out by like $30,000 by everybody because we were using the Fortune Builder system, 70% minus rehab. Here's our offer. Our offer was always like 185 on these houses in Central Jersey, and everything was selling for 225, 220, 225, and my realtors were getting pissed. They were just like, this is a lot of work, and you're never going to win a deal with these numbers. And so I asked, I said, okay, so why do you think that? And they're like, well, because you need to raise your offer. And so I'm like, okay, they don't understand the deal analyzer part of this system. And so I said, would it be helpful if I showed you how we actually come to that number? The repair number is just one piece. Would it be helpful if I walked you through the entire thing and show you how we come to our offer? And they were like, yeah, we'd love to see it. So I showed them the deal analyzer. I walked them through just like I would like on a webinar or something like that. I walked them through the deal analyzer, every aspect of it. And they were like, oh, wow. Okay. So yeah, we weren't thinking that there was holding costs. We weren't thinking that there were these costs. And yeah, our commissions, I guess, would take away from the profit. And so we started showing them all these things, and it started to make sense to them. And what was really great is they were like, what if we cut our commissions? Could we add that back into the offer? And I'm like, yeah, you sure could. I mean, they were already at 5%. They went down to 4.5%. And so what it did is it actually inspired me to go to my lenders and the contractor and say, hey, you know, we're all on a team. The contractor, the lender, the agent, us, we're all on a team, and we all rely on each other to be able to get the deal to keep us all going, right? And so I asked my lenders, I said, hey, you know, we're going from 13% to 11%. You know, so all my lenders went down to 11% that next go around. You know, I asked my contractor, I said, hey, can you do any better on any of your pricing? So then I went to the title company. I said, hey, is there any way that we can forego this fee right here? Is, you know, if I can bring you referrals, can we get rid of this fee? And so just chopping away at little pieces of the deal analyzer and all the costs, you know, we were able to bring our offer up from 185 to 200, which made us competitive for one house. One house. We were competitive and we lost the deal. And so that lasted for about 2 weeks. But what it did is it allowed them, they had so much more clarity now about the entire process. And they asked for the deal analyzer. So now they can know right away when they're walking properties. Once they get their repair number, they had a working deal analyzer, and they were like punching it in right then because they wanted to know what the offer was going to be. And so, and here's like to the whole Rockstar Realtor tag or title, they said, hey, listen, I think that you're going to have to change your strategy. And I know that Christopher, me and you talked about this on a coach call one time. You know, they said, hey, I think you're going to have to change your strategy. You can't just do rip and replace rehabs up here. You're never going to be competitive enough because there's people here that are paying way more than you. Why don't you consider doing an add a level, you know, ripping the roof off and adding square footage? And I'm like, I've never done that before. I was like, you got somebody that can do that for us? And let's talk about the numbers. And so they showed me a bunch of numbers, and it was every dollar that we put in for construction, we were getting $3 back on the ARV, and which allowed us to be able to come up a lot higher because there was just a lot more profit in the deal. And as soon as we changed strategies, because they knew the deal analyzer now and the whole process, we ended up getting 3 under contract at like 1 every single month we got under contract after that. And I had to stop. I was like, whoa, 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 this is working way too good. Something's not right. I was like, after the 3rd one, we stopped. And we sold one of them. One of them's coming on the market next week, and another one like a month after that. And I think they wanted to punch me in the face when I told them, hey, we can't make any more offers because I just want to see this thing through. I've never done an add a level before. And the old me, when I first started, would have just been go, go, go. Let's get 12 of these things load up. And then I probably would have put myself in a really bad position, especially because we bought these last summer and then now COVID happened. We would have really been screwed. So after 3 happened right away like that, pausing just to see it all the way through really upset them. But I think what they realize is that, again, it's a business for us. You know what I mean? Like we were making a business decision. So, you know, so that's really, you know, how, you know, the realtor, the agent part of that transpired. And that's what the MLS offering system looks like is, you know, you set a cadence once per week to meet with your realtor, and you give them a goal of 5 to 10 properties. And then, you know, then from there, you just keep tweaking the system until you guys find a formula that works. And if it's not in your market, that's why you got to try to look at different markets. Right. And that's why we had to go to a different market. So that's the realtor side of it. The next thing I want to cover is the contractor side of it, but I wanted to open it up real quick. I see George said, how do you integrate the agent with your off MLS projects? That's a great question. Most of the time, if I'm getting off market properties in a market that I'm not typically in, I'm looking to wholesale them because I'm typically getting them at a really good discount. And, you know, I can reach out to the agent and ask them if they have buyers. So I haven't used an agent to do anything with my off-market properties in markets that I'm not in my remote markets. That's a great question. But it'll go to the project manager, and I'll show you how we use the project manager here in just a second. How do you get realtors on board with your system to wholesale them? That's tough. Yeah, wholesaling and realtors in the same sentence typically is like oil and water. They're not really big fans of it. But again, if you can, it really is about just like, you know, it's about communication, and it's about pitching the dream and getting people to buy in to your systems. The more that you guys can emphasize the systems and pitch your dream of what your goals are and show them how we're going to get there and align with their goals, it's easier to get them on board with different ideas, right? So if you're like, hey, and so actually, what I've done, this kind of goes back to both of these, is what I've done in those markets with these realtors is I'll basically say, hey, I have a project. I'm looking to get $60,000 for this. If you have a buyer, tack on whatever you need to for it to make sense for you, and then show it to your buyer. So they'll tack on, even though it's an off-market property, they bring their buyer and they'll tack on whatever they do. Now, I'm not a realtor, so I don't know the ethical part of how all that actually goes down, but they'll tack on whatever makes sense for them to be able to put their buyer in the position to buy that. And obviously they get the out sales on that. So That's how we've used realtors to do that.
If I may say something as an agent, and there's another member here she's a broker as well. So my experience has been that as an agent, it depends on how your broker, what they allow you to do, and the local laws. Like our MLS has been trying to find a way to kind of crack down on the coming soons or the pocket deals, the pocket listings, the one that never see the light of day. They're not big fans on wholesale, and it's, you got to figure out how to navigate it. So sometimes it's not necessarily the agent that doesn't want to do it. Maybe they don't know how to do it, or maybe they could be that what you're trying to do might not be feasible in that specific market. So if you have a rock star agent that's been in the business, they know what's going on, they should be able to tell you what they can and cannot do and how they can present it, basically.
Yeah. Thanks. I'm not trying to badmouth agents, I swear. I love agents. I know it's probably coming off like that, but that's not what I...
That's okay. We're some
Good
of us
cleanup.
are agents and investors. We don't take any offense. There's the business and then the real estate. Let's go.
Yeah. All right, awesome. Anything else before I get into like the contractor project management side of it?
Do you use local lenders, national, or a blend?
Did you say lenders?
Yeah.
I'm pretty much private money now, and I can tell you right now, you guys again have an amazing resource at your fingertips with the Fortune Builders community, because if you didn't know this, not everybody joins Fortune Builders to flip houses. A lot of them see the opportunity to be able to put their money to work in a community that is based on systems and coaching and stuff like that. So there's a lot of money. The last time we counted, which was at the beginning of 2020, we had raised $9 million out of the mastery community for our deals. So a lot of that is just being active on Facebook, constantly, talking about what you're doing in your business. If it, in keeping it in the spirit of, hey, if I can share one thing that I went through and somebody can not go through the same thing, or somebody can find inspiration or motivation from my one post, that's always been my goal whenever I post on Facebook. I always try to provide as much value as I can and just show people that I'm implementing systems. And that's really what gives a lot of people that you don't even know, it gives them a lot of confidence in you and your business because they see that you're actually implementing it. And so when it comes time to pitch for private money in the mastery community, having a good formatted post, it really goes a long way. And then really when people see your name, they're like, oh man, that's that dude that's in DC. He's always sharing what he's doing or, what's worked for him, provides a lot of value. And so I get a lot of people that when they'll reach out to me, they're like, I feel like I know you, but I don't even know who you are. And I would never do this, but for some reason I feel like I just want to give you all my retirement to invest into your project. I'm like, well, awesome. I'm honored. I'll take it. I'll put it to work and I promise I'll protect it. So, but that, I think a lot of that just goes from just being active on the Facebook community and just, again, coming from the place of always trying to give back and inspire with your struggles and your wins and all that other stuff. So,
Do you also use private lenders for your rentals that are going to be more long-term investments?
yeah, so we use private money to buy every deal, and then for the long term, we'll look to refinance into a longer term mortgage. However, we've kind of shifted. There are some people inside the master community that don't want their money to turn every 6 to 12 months. They want to keep it into something a little bit longer with somebody that they can trust in a market that they know. And so we've really been able to convert a lot of our initial fix and flip lenders into longer term 3-5 month or 3 to 5 year lenders. So, but at the beginning we were using like Lima One Capital, Finance of America. There's another one that we use. I can't think of the name right now to get a longer term mortgage. Some local banks. We've got a couple with some local banks.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, cool. So let's, I just want to shift gears real quick because I think that you guys are all thinking, okay, that's great with the agent putting in the offers, but we all know that that's like the first 30 days of a 6 to 8 month project. right? That's like the first 30 days of it, and someone's got to be able to handle the next few months of it. And so I think if you find the right agents, you can actually make them your project managers as well. Again, they have a vested interest in the project. And there are a couple ways that you can do this. I mean, if they're just fired up to work with you and bought into your system, I think you would be surprised at how often you can ask them, or you might not even have to ask them to visit the property. They're going to want to stop by and take a look and see how everything's going, and they're going to report back to you. And if that doesn't happen naturally, then you could probably just ask them, like, hey, can you swing by the property once per week and just take a look and just make sure that there's a hammer swinging or something's going on, there's progress happening. And then when the contractor's asking for a payment, you know, you can just say, hey, there are going to be times, maybe 6 times throughout the project, where I'm going to need you to go very specifically. I'm going to give you our scope of work. I'm going to give you our draw schedule. And I just want you to compare. This guy's asking for draw number 2, which all of this says it has to be done. And all of what needs to be done is in the scope of work. Just compare and make sure that everything's good. Take some pictures and send it to me. And I think that you can get the agents to do that naturally. Most of them are out and about a lot of the times anyway. And we have a market where we actually incentivize the agent to do that, where above and beyond their commission, we also gave them 5% profit share in the project. So not a flat fee, but just a profit share at the end. So we make them part of our team. And I would say that's the way. So that word profit share, that's a pretty big word that we really leverage in our business to be able to grow and scale the way that we did, because it was hard to try to find ways to give people money to do what they did, because we didn't have any money when we first started, but we still needed to build. And so what we did is we got people bought into the system and the dream, and talked about profit sharing and saying, hey, listen, I'm not going to pay you a weekly salary, but what I can do is I can give you 15% of the net profits on this. And here's my deal analyzer. Here's all the systems, and this is what we should be getting. And so this could be your portion at the end. And so what it does is it ties people's pockets together. Everybody has a vested interest to make sure that the project is as profitable as it possibly can, which works out great as long as your project is actually profitable at the end. But if it's not, then you may lose an agent or two. So, you know, there's different ways that you can incentivize agents to do that for you. So let's just say you just can't get the agent to do it for you. This is where you can leverage the local Fortune Builders community. You have a ton of people that have gone through training. They have watched JD on RealFlow talk about different repairs. They have access, they have the mindset, they have the coaching, they have everything. It's almost a replica of you in any market that you want to be in. And so we have found that a lot of Fortune Builder students, especially in our local market, are struggling to find a deal, or struggling to get over their fear of raising money for a deal, or struggling with some aspect of real estate. And so what we can do now that we have deals going on, we can stand in this position of authority, and we can say, hey, listen, we can give you the opportunity to earn while you learn on our dollars, because we're the one that are paying for the deal, the marketing, and all the other stuff. And what we'd like you to do is just come in, and whether you give it a free internship or whatever you want to call it, you can bring them in and you can have them be your project manager, boots on the ground, and you can give them a percentage of the profit. And typically what we do is we give our project managers, other Fortune Builder students in other markets, 15% of our profit to manage our project. And so what that ends up building into is they're the ones doing our scope of works. They're the ones walking the property after we get a deal under contract. They're the ones doing the 6 critical documents. They're the ones that are in charge of finding the good quality contractors with our direction, you know? So that was powerful. As soon as we realized that we could tap in to this network of people who think and act like us, it was almost, you could almost go into any market and find somebody who's just hungry to do something. So, you know, that right there, yeah, you could do it with acquisitions, you can do it with marketing, you could do it with redevelopment, sales, any of that stuff. You can find people across the country that can do that for you.
What was the percentage again? Sorry.
15%. We give them 15% of our net profits.
So are you 1099 them, or do you do a JV with them?
So I'm not a attorney. I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night, so I can answer this, and I can say yes, we 1099.
So JP, I'd like to say that I agree with you on that. Like, I've been working with being coached by you and stuff, and you know, you putting out good things about me that a lot of the Fortune Builders students in the area have come to me, and I'm working with a couple of them now, similar, same thing. Like, I love it because they're hungry, they want to learn, and so they come by the projects, they see what we're doing. I've actually, you know, bird dogged them for finding properties for me too as well, because they weren't in the position yet to actually wholesale, meaning put it under contract, put an offer on it, to have the earnest money deposit. But it's been a great relationship for us both.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for you, obviously, the one thing that you lack is time. And then for them, the one thing that they lack is deals. And so it's a perfect relationship that, you know, we have a saying in Anchored Homes, we say a rising tide raises all ships, right? Like, that's our philosophy. Like, there's no reason for me to just sit up here and reap all the benefits. If I can bring as many people as I can with me, why can't we all be successful? So I think I'm glad to hear that you're doing that in your local market, and you're probably one of the best people for people to learn from, because you definitely implement and execute. Obviously, I swear every time I talk to you, you're like, oh, I got another multifamily off of Craigslist or Facebook.
Thank you.
All right, questions.
What do you typically pay the bird dogs that find you the deal? Avia, I hope I said that right.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So it depends. Sorry, I was just texting you back in the chat. I love it. So it depends on the actual deal itself. You know, if it's like one I just did in Baltimore, I mean, this guy is amazing. Like, he just learned the system and he just wants to learn. And he's like, how can I help you? So he put together the deal analyzer. He actually went to the property for me and looked up and saw what needed to be done. Met the general contractor there. So he was a little bit different than a typical bird dogger, if that makes sense. I hate bird dogger, that's not even a word. But so on average, anywhere between $500 to $1,000, depending on the deal, has been mine. I don't know what JP does, but again, it depends on the deal, because it's not one set. Because if it's a smaller deal, you know, and then it's not much leverage in it, then it'll be a little bit less. But he's excited because he's constantly looking for stuff for me. He's already sent me 3 new properties, and he loves it because he comes to the properties and he's able to look at them, and he's working with the contractor. So it's fun for him because he's learning too at the same time.
Yeah, and I think it kind of goes both ways, right? So I think that there's probably a lot of people on this call that could probably benefit from being that person that links up with, you know, someone like you, Avia, or Mickey, or whoever else is doing deals on here. So there's probably a lot of people in your group that haven't, you know, they're probably thinking like, hey, that could be me. Like, I want the opportunity. And so I would say, you know, if that is you on this call, you have a lot of great people in your group that you guys could probably do something like that with.
And, you know, if I may add, if I was, you know, if someone would have approached me at the beginning of our journey in Fortune Builder, I would have said yes for the experience, right? I would have said, yes, I want to learn. Yes, I want to shadow you. Teach me. Let's go. Let's get into practice. Yes.
So let me plug in a little bit. We are actively also, we've been trying to contact some of the members. We need help because we're getting a ton of deals. We're getting deals coming in. We're starting to run out of time. So if any of you guys that are on the call looking to do acquisition with us or any of these things local to Maryland, DC, Virginia, you know, send me an email because we are actively trying to get some people to help us with our acquisition.
I'll say right now, I'd be very happy to help you guys. So I'll send you an email, but I'm on these calls and you know me, so
There you go. Look at that.
I love it. This is great.
Greg, this is Greg from Los Angeles. I'm also looking at doing deals. I'm seeing a couple of people that I'm working with that's kind of hard to get to the actual locations. So I'm needing to find some other folks to work with.
So Greg, you're in Los Angeles and you're doing remote investing?
Yes, I'm kind of unique. I got 4 real estate licenses, different states, and I've invested. And I met some people at the last training in Atlanta that are dealing in Baltimore. I put a couple of deals in escrow, but the properties didn't work out. A little additional, one works for law enforcement, one works for the hospitals. So with the COVID-19 situation and with their protests, it's kind of hard for them to go by the deals.
Yeah. Well, that's about all I had. Like that's the system that that we implement to try to get into remote markets. Again, just using the Neil Bawa's formula, and I think that sometimes rather than trying to figure out which market might be the best one, I mean, you can always Google best real estate markets in 2020 and you'll get a lot of different results. But if you have somebody that you know, like, and trust in a market, start with that one first. Right? Start looking at that market and seeing and trying to identify that and see if that's something that you can get into. That's how we did Central Jersey. I mean, Central Jersey came to us because my partner's cousin lived up there and it made a really good fit. And so we identified it and it was like, yeah, this is going to work. Well, after 2.5 months. But I mean, that's how we got up into Central Jersey. It's the same thing with Florida. We're down in Florida because that's where we're from. We have best friends down there, and it's an amazing market for what we're doing for our short-term rentals. So, rather than just trying to pick one out of the blue, try to identify areas where you guys might already have some connections and some boots on the ground.
Well, quick question. So, as far as when you're looking at a new market, when do you decide like expand? This might be much of a question. But when do you decide to like, okay, I'm gonna, expand my entities into, this state, or how does that come about?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think I want to answer that 2 different ways. One is so real estate is full of shiny objects, right? Like we can all get distracted by the latest marketing strategy that we see somebody implementing, what was the one that became like the hot thing in the magnets on the side of the car. I saw Brett Barantini did it, I did it, and then like another person did it, and then it was like everybody was doing it, right? And so like we are definitely a victim of shiny objects. And so the first thing that I would always recommend is be laser focused in your one market, and then once you exhaust everything in that market, if the systems that you're implementing there just aren't working anymore, if you're starting to feel that might be the time to start looking into different markets. Or, again, keeping your laser focus in mind, you guys should probably all have some sort of long-term goals, some 10-year, 5-year, 2-year, 1-year goals. And so all the decisions that you make should be aligning with and helping you achieve those long-term goals. And I'll just give you an example. So like one of our long-term goals is to retire to Florida, where we're from. So identifying a short-term rental market in Florida where we're going to be moving to was something that aligned with our goals, and it still allowed me to be laser focused on what it is that we're looking to do. And so, that's how we kind of identify that, right? Like we try to keep it in line with our goals, but then when something's not working, we have to start tweaking it, and that may be going to somewhere like Florida and opening up a short-term rental business.
Hey, JP, I do have a question. So I've been using private money lenders since the beginning. I agree with you 100%. It's a great opportunity if you come across them. I want to know on the Fortune Builder site, because I'm not JP, so I don't have the leverage that you do quite yet. They see your name and they're like, throw money at you. How do you really, when you first were not really, JP the man, how did you leverage yourself to find? Because I noticed I put things out on there, post it several times, and I constantly post on my site too, and I share it to fortune builders a lot, but I don't get nobody responds back a lot to those. So how did you get that built up on the Fortune Builders Facebook site to get people to respond back to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's like marketing. There's inbound and there's outbound. And so what you just described was, and what we talked about earlier is that's inbound marketing, right? So we are putting something out and hoping that somebody will come back into our funnel. That's inbound marketing for private money lenders. So there's also outbound marketing. And so you can also, and you probably already do this, but what you can do is you can just go into the search bar and you can type in Gap or lender or anything that is typically put on a Facebook post in regards to raising private money. And you can see, for example, when I put something out there and I get all these people that respond, add those people to your database, reach out to those people and say, hey, it looks like you are interested in lending. I was actually coached by John Paul. So would you like to lend on one of my deals? You don't have to do that. I'm just messing with you. But,
no, I like that.
You know, what we ended up doing is they'd probably kill me if they heard me say this, fortune builders. But what I was doing is I was using the Facebook group. I would find people who were saying, hey, sent you a DM or interested, send me. And I would go back to the Mastery website and I would put them in the members directory and I'd find their email address in the members directory and I'd go back to RealFlow. I'd put them in RealFlow, mark them as a PML, and the next time, and I use a lot of RealFlow to raise money as well. And the next time that I had a deal and I blasted out my property packet, they would get it. And I would talk to them as if they were always on my private money lender list. And I get a lot of people that I've never talked to on Facebook, put in my RealFlow database that would reach back out to me and be like, yeah, I'd love to lend on this deal. So, you know, doing a little bit of outbound private money lender marketing as well. And like I said, you're probably doing this. The other thing that I would recommend is, you know, a lot of people are scared to bring up private money in a conversation. And I would say that if that is you, if you're scared to talk about it, read your private money lender credibility packet. Become familiar with how they talk, how they speak, what are the different things that they use to secure deals and all of that stuff. The more you read that private money lender credibility packet, the more confident you're going to be. And the more, and this is the word I want to get to, the more intentional it'll allow you to be in your conversations with people. Actually, another thing, and do not judge me when I say this, please. This is totally a marketing strategy that I use at all of the events. Godly, you guys are going to probably think I'm like the scum of the earth when I say this. When I go, this is recording. I can't say it. It's recording.
It's recorded. It's recorded. Hold yourself.
Yeah. I
Pause
can't,
the recording.
Stop the recording.
Pause the recording.
Stop the recording.
No,
Okay,
that's all right. Don't
pause.
stop it. No, listen. It's really
How about this? The next time John Paul comes, because at the beginning, all of us that were here, we were not recorded. So right now we're recording. If you come on time or a little bit before 6:30.
He hasn't gotten away yet. We know where he lives. So come on, John.
right.
In the
I'm
chat.
not too far from you guys. I'm right here in Williamsburg. Come see me.
The chat comes with the recording. So no, don't put it in the chat either.
So no, all right. Here, listen. I'm gonna frame this. I'm gonna preface it by saying my intentions are always good, and I'm very genuine with everything that I do. Nothing that I do is fake, and everything that I do is because I understand that the opportunities that I have are gonna allow somebody to achieve their goals, right? And so with that being said, I want you to understand that I don't do this out of bad intentions. And I do this strictly because I really think about things outside the boxes. Okay, there we go.
I'm just now back on. Go ahead.
All right. So I'm very intentional with my conversation because most of the time you can really start off a conversation and be genuine by asking people what are their goals, right? And I think knowing that not everybody's goal in Fortune Builders is to flip houses. Some people, and this is how I say, hey, so what's your goal this year? Are you looking to flip a certain amount of houses? Are you looking to wholesale? Or maybe you're looking to lend? What are some of your goals this year, right? And so that's a very soft approach to figure out and have them tell you what their goals are. And if you'll be surprised, the people that are coming in to lend, they'll be, if you're genuine and they feel like they have a connection, they'll tell you like, hey, I'm looking to lend. And you say, oh, that's awesome. We have this MLS offering system where we're submitting 5 to 10 offers per week. And, we're going to get 1 to 2 properties under contract, and we might have some opportunities. Have you ever considered investing into properties or lending on properties in New Jersey? Right. And then so you just kind of go into all of that. And so it's kind of a soft approach, but again, it's from the best possible position that I can come from to be genuine, to figure out what people's goals are, because I have, and you guys also have the same opportunity to be able to help them achieve their goals, and you guys can do it together. So, oh gosh, I've never told anybody that before. You guys are, I guess, lucky.
That's great. Thank you, JP.
We're all family here.
Where's Tom? Tom probably hates me now.
Tom Harwell?
Yeah.
Yes,
but
Tom is on our list.
Yeah, actually, I didn't even know that he was in a circle. We actually just sat next to each other in the Money Academy. So I knew he had money. And he talked about golf the whole time. So remember that, Tom? He was my partner. He was my partner.
Just said, yep, I'm all about that. It's hard work to rehab.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm really not a pro golfer, dude. You really thought I was?
No, your pitch, when we had to practice our pitch and you talked all about the golf like that. No, it's just funny. I know that you're inner circle, so I didn't want you to think that our friendship was fake. And see, that's why I don't ever talk about it, because it's really not. It's really not. It's just like a
now I know why you look for me.
You found me, dude.
I know. You're right. I found you because you were a crew member.
That's right.
That's good.
All right.
JP, you should not feel bad about that, because I'm in a circle. And I remember when I was talking to my coach and we were looking for lending opportunities, she was like, I have a lot of inner circle students that are not interested or in a position to rehab, and they're looking to lend. And so she put us in touch with someone, and we didn't actually use that person for a deal, but we referred her to someone else, and then we got a referral fee from the other student that used her. So there are inner circle coaches that have students who have told them, we want to lend. And so what you've said is really not a bad thing, and a lot of people have been benefiting from the system.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. And I just, if I could just reiterate and say that as long as you're coming from a good place, then that's really what matters, is trying to help, facilitate that opportunity for each of you guys to achieve your goal. So.
Perfect. Anybody else has any questions? We're nearing the end of the meeting. I know we could talk for hours and hours about real estate investing. I do want to ask John Paul to come back again. We definitely would love to have you maybe at the end of September or October. If you have time, we'll just pick your brain again. And this time I'll ask everybody to have questions prepared, or like what are the subject, or if they want you to go into more detail or have like an example or a case that you can show us, like what you did, walk us through the process maybe. We've done that, and I think it's been helping a lot of people, because some of the people on the call have not had a chance yet to have their first deal, because our market here is so competitive, it's completely crazy. So it always helps, I think, to have somebody walk the process. We have our process, we're always learning, but we're always asking other people, what do you do? How do you get your funds? How do you do this? And people sometimes like, but you're active. I was like, yes, but you're always learning, and somebody will tell you something that you didn't think about, or there's something else that you never thought, oh, okay, maybe I need to try that next time. So we would love for you maybe to come back and walk us through one of your projects and your step. I think that would be really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to. You know, I've got, I mean, in the kind of just to piggyback what you're saying, like we're always students, we're always learning. This guy, Ethan, that you guys are going to hear from in 2 weeks, I've learned so much. 4 years in the business, and I've learned so much more about generating leads from this guy than I've learned in the last 4 years. I learned so much from him in 6 months, and so I would love to walk you through some case studies that just over the last 6 months that we've been able to do with just what he's been able to give us to do with the skip tracing and the text messaging and the cold calling and stuff like that. So yeah, I'd love to come back.
Perfect. That's great. Do you guys have any more questions for John Paul?
Thank you. I wanted to encourage, you know, if people still have their coaching calls, like get onto your coaching calls. This is a great tool that we have in the mastery program, and we certainly have benefit a lot from it. And like Avia, I've been coached a lot by John Paul, and it's been really great, and it did make a real change into how we were implementing things and how we were going in our business.
My last question was, and thank you, I really appreciate this. This has been great. You mentioned the matrix and the spreadsheet. Do you use the same spreadsheet? I think it was the
Get
copy
closer
offer
to
spreadsheet.
the
I
mic.
think it's the same.
You're breaking up a little bit. If you can get closer to the mic.
I'm sorry, my apologies. Matrix, you mentioned the spreadsheet that you use for that matrix system. Is it the same property offer spreadsheet that you kind of put that information into, or is that like a separate spreadsheet?
It's two spreadsheets, and I'll share that with you. I don't know how you guys share documents and stuff like that, but I'll definitely share it. I'm going to share. I'm happy that I didn't have to go through the slideshow. I kind of just used it in the background because the last time I went through a slideshow on Zoom, like I couldn't see anybody's beautiful face, and I felt like the interaction wasn't there. So this was a lot better. But I'll send the presentation that covers everything that I talked about today. I'll include the property offer spreadsheet that we've tweaked a little bit, and the rents and sale matrix. I'll include that. And I'll also, I've shared this before and we didn't really get into it, but I have a contractor onboarding spreadsheet that we use to track as we're evaluating new contractors. We put them through a 5-step process before we allow them to work in our business. And so I can share that with you guys as well.
That'll be great. We're getting ready to get subcontractors, so I would really appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. And to everybody whose comments, I mean, it's hard keeping up with all of them. I see some private ones. Yeah, go Army, beat Navy. I just wanted to say thank you guys for being interactive, being a great group. And I just want to give props to each and every one of you for showing up. I mean, it's Wednesday. We started at 6:30 and it's now 8 o'clock. I'm sure you guys had tons of things to do, but you were here learning how to take your business to the next level. So congratulations to you guys, and thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for coming, John Paul. We definitely appreciate your time. I always thank everybody for showing up, but we especially value our guest speakers. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you for all the information you're getting ready to share with us. We appreciate that.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody. Thank you for coming. It's 8, so I don't want to keep you guys too long. I will make sure to send all the information when I get it from John Paul, and we will invite him again. And please come in 2 weeks. We'll have another great guest that actually John Paul referred us to Ethan. So we'll learn a lot more. So we're really trying to get as many people as possible so you guys can get really set up for the market that's coming at the end of the year.
Thanks, Aiza.
Anytime.
Thank you,
I'm
Aiza.
always here for you guys.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks, Aisa and Mickey.
Thank you.
Bye.